symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
Hey, this is Kurt Angle, and welcome to the Kurt Angle Show, baby. That's right. We have a special guest on the show, but first, let me introduce to you my co-host, Paul Bromwell. How you doing today, Paul?
Kurt, I'm doing great. I'm really excited, man. We've had a lot of great guests. We had Ronda Rousey on a couple weeks ago, but this man that we have today, he's riding the wave of winning the Owen Hart Cup recently in AEW.
Yeah, and this guy, his name is Adam Cole. Adam Cole, welcome to the Angle Show.
Hey, guys, it is a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to getting the chance to talk to both of you for a long time. So this is going to be very fun. Very, very fun.
This is awesome, man.
Good talking to you, man.
I got to say, and Adam, you and I were talking a little bit beforehand, but this is the Pennsylvania podcast today. We got Kurt from Pittsburgh. I'm from Reading. And Adam, you were born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, right?
Born and raised. Yeah, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I do. I say all the time because my girlfriend, Britt Baker, she's also a Pennsylvania girl. You know, she grew up in Punxsutawney, PA, and went to school in Pittsburgh. So the both of us now, we're currently living in Florida, and we talk all the time. We like Florida. No digs whatsoever on Florida, but we can't wait to go back to Pennsylvania. I miss the seasons.
Live there long term?
I think so. I think moving back to PA and staying there permanently is the game plan for sure. We have family up there. The seasons are beautiful. I do. I love Pennsylvania. The air is just different.
So
it definitely is. And there are a lot of green, a lot of trees.
Yes, absolutely.
I got to ask, though, now we know she loves the Steelers, and one day we're going to have her on the show, and we'll break out the terrible towels. Now, are you a Steeler fan, too?
So, I'll just be totally honest, because I'm totally honest with her. She knows this as well. I'm a Steelers fan by default. You know, like she loves Pittsburgh sports, whether it be the Penguins or the Steelers, like full-blown fan. So at that point, of course, when I watch her watch the game and get super invested and excited and yelling at the TV when something doesn't go well or jumping for joy when it does go well, you can't help it. So, but of course, as a supportive boyfriend, I'm definitely in the camp of being a Steelers fan. But I will say, like going to the games and stuff like that, it's a blast.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's so much fun. So I am
That's
for sure.
Good. All right. Well, then we'll let you stay here for the rest of the interview. Nah, I'm kidding. Hey, listen, we're here. Let's talk about Kurt Angle a little bit. When's the first time you heard about Kurt? Was it prior to him going pro, or was it when he did join the WWE?
It actually was when he did join WWE. Because I remember, Kurt, I have so many personal anecdotes and stories about how important you were to me as a fan and as a wrestler. Which I could go on and on about. And if it's okay, I would love to jump into a couple of those.
Yes, please.
Kurt's going to love it.
Yeah. So I wrestled in sixth grade and then all through middle school and then almost until my senior year of high school. And I did that because of Kurt Angle. Even though I found out about Kurt after he had got to WWE, reading his book and hearing about all the training he would do and getting 5 hours of sleep and being involved in so many different clubs and training twice a day. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be this guy who works his tail off to get to his goals. And at the end of the day, I knew that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. So I actually started wrestling in middle school and high school because of you, Kurt.
That's awesome, man.
And on top of that, you were the first pro wrestler, first celebrity that I had ever met. Wow. And my experience was so positive that to this day, anytime I see someone like a fan anywhere, I always in the back of my mind go, I want this to be as positive an experience as it was me meeting Kurt for the first time, because I was so scared to say hello. My mother was there with me, and you just had a huge smile on your face. My mom pushed my hand forward to shake your hand. I was so nervous. And then you again, as a kid, you were my favorite from that point on. I'm like, Kurt Angle is the best. He is so nice and so cool. And then on top of that, again, watching the run that Kurt has had, I think it's very, very safe to say one of the greatest of all time. So it's
Thank
just,
you, Adam.
Of course.
What you're saying is I wasn't an asshole. Huh?
Not at all, because we've seen those before too. And as a kid, it really impacts your future mentality on things. Because I, to this day, think about that time of meeting you and talking to you and saying, I want to be like that every time that I meet a fan, and I want their interaction to be super positive, because I remembered it and I know that they do too. So yeah, thank you for
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Of course.
Hey, what made you get into professional wrestling?
Yeah, so I was actually taking karate lessons when I was younger. My parents split when I was about 9 years old. So when I would stay with my mom, I was trying to figure out new stuff to do. And I wanted to make it for football that year, but I had just missed the deadline. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? And I used to watch Bruce Lee movies a lot with my dad. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll take karate. And I really did like it. I got like, again, as far as you can as in a kids program, I got to like the brown belt. So like right before black, and I would get there early every day to work on technique. And I would stay late and do some conditioning stuff, like even as a young kid from Monday through Thursday. And one day I got there and my instructor was watching a taped Monday Night Raw from the night before. And it was Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin putting Paul Bearer in a sewer. And I'm watching it. This is the first time I've seen this. And I'm mouth open. And my instructor goes, oh, do you watch pro wrestling? And I lied to him. I said, yeah, I watch it all the time. Yeah, I watch it all the time, because I wanted to fit in with him so bad. And then long story short, he let me borrow a tape of WrestleMania 15 from that year. And it was the first Rock and Austin match. And from that point on, I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. There's these crazy rowdy fans. There's all this awesome physicality. Like, this is the best. So that was the moment that made me really fall in love with it as a fan.
I love it. Rock Austin in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
In Philadelphia.
There's the connection. There we go. And I know because I was on the floor for that event. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah. Pretty cool, man. First pay-per-view. Awesome. So listen, you trained at Combat Zone Wrestling Academy while you were still in high school. Yeah. But you're one of the few I found in doing my research that actually hit it big time coming out of CZW. How was your training and why that school for you, Adam?
So truth be told, again, I have a very high amount of respect for both of my trainers, DJ Hyde and John Dahmer. John Dahmer was trained by Iron Mike Sharp, which is really cool. But I remember I was kind of deciding which school I wanted to go to, because I was a Pennsylvania boy. I was looking at Offa's training school for a little while in Allentown. Then I was looking at Chikara, thinking maybe that's where I wanted to go. But again, at this point, I was going to independent shows, WWE shows, TNA shows, like anything that I could go and watch, I was going and watching. And I went to this CZW show, Best of the Best, where that particular tournament, they really focus on that like athletic junior style of just these awesome back and forth matches. And I remember I was waiting after the show to like meet and talk to some of the guys. And again, the head trainer there, DJ Hyde, I built up the courage to tell him that, hey, when I graduate high school, I'm going to train to be a wrestler. And he looked at me right in the face. He goes, well, why don't you want to wrestle now? And I didn't know what to say. I was like, well, I know the school costs this much and I don't have that much money. And, I'm in high school. And he goes, listen, the tuition can be done in payments. If you really want to, just come and try out and see if you like it. So I ended up driving back and trying out and falling in love with it and saying, I need to do it now. It's going to eat me alive for this next year if I don't start training right now. So yeah, my entire senior year of high school, I trained, and I would drive. It was, I'd go to high school, and then right from high school, I would drive, 2.5 hours to the school in Philadelphia. We'd get the snot beat out of us, but we were learning. And then we'd drive the 2.5 hours back and get up and go to school the next day. But
did that every day.
Yeah, every day. Which it definitely caught up to you. But at that point, again, I'm 17, 18 years old. Yeah. I have so much energy. It's totally fine. But it was definitely exhausting and a body shock for sure. But one of the coolest things about that school was at the end of every week, our trainer DJ would say, hey, these are the shows I'm booked for this weekend. Anyone wants to come along, you're more than welcome. And I was always one of the only people to take him up on that, to where I practically lived at his house every weekend. but he would take me to so many different shows where I would help set up the ring, help set up chairs, work on the music. Because by the time I was ready to start wrestling, I had all these connections immediately where I was actually really, when I started, I was wrestling every weekend, 2 or 3 times a weekend. So, but I owe him a lot of that. So I had a
you did a lot
class.
of networking. That's awesome, Adam.
Yeah, for sure. Which at that point in the early stages, it's like, God, it's vital. That's one of the most challenging things, I think, when you're first starting out.
Well, you're 32 now, so you've been in the business for almost 14 years.
14 years.
You started, what was your goal?
Oh, man. So initially, I remember my very first goal, because, again, I grew up on WWE. And even before I had my first match, I was like, oh, man, my goal is to, main event a WrestleMania or be the WWE champion. That was like the initial thing right away. And then I realized how many things within wrestling that I wanted to do, like go to Japan and go to Mexico and go to Europe and wrestle for Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and all these different places. And I realized it was so much easier for my brain to mentally process, like taking everything a step at a time. As long as I'm working towards whatever that goal is, it feels a lot less overwhelming. And then also realizing there's so much of it that I can't control. That was also very helpful for me mentally. Instead, I wanted to focus and be driven on the stuff that I could control. So really, but very early on, I realized that I wanted to take everything a step at a time. Like I wanted to wrestle in more states within the United States. I wanted to get to a point where I was wrestling 3 times a week instead of 1 or 2 times a week. Like I said, I wanted to, progression, like slow progression. So early on, it was this, I want to do everything and be on top of the world. And you still have that in like the back of your mind of, whatever that vision is. But for me personally, it felt a lot easier for me to process with doing the smaller goals as time went on.
You mentioned as you were talking there, Adam, about Ring of Honor. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of Ring of Honor to your career and how you ended up there in the first place? Yeah.
So ROH played such a big part in me getting to learn from some of the best, for sure. And funny enough, again, when I was early into my training, I would go to different training schools lots of times. And one time I was like a guest at the Ring of Honor school. And Delirious, the trainer there, he took a liking to me. So he invited me back whenever I wanted. So I would go there and train a couple of days. And then I would train a couple of days at CZW as well. Like it was like this back and forth thing, which was great for me. But then I started getting booked for the Ring of Honor HD net tapings, like early on in that television period, where I would do a pre-show match before every single match and every single show. And every time I would come to the back or send an email, I would say, hey, anything, like, how was it? And every time I would get a, nope, you did good. We'll see you next time. And that went on for like a year. And I was like, man, I got to do something different. Like whatever, I know they're happy, but I want to get a job. So I ended up sending a promo to the booker at the time, Adam Pierce, and he really liked it. And said, hey, next week at the tapings, I want you to actually do a promo before the show. Yeah, you don't even have to worry about a match. So I went in and did like an in-ring promo, and Jim Cornette happened to be walking by, who was also there. And he saw this and he went, oh my God, we got to hire this kid. And then that day I ended up getting a job like at ROH. I was 20 years old, had been wrestling like a year and a half. So it just all kind of fell into my lap all of a sudden, and everything that you worked for and focused on, because at that point, my goal was heavily to get into ROH. That was like my number one goal, number one focus. So for that to happen, I signed my first contract with Ring of Honor. I owe Ring of Honor so much.
Well, speaking of Ring of Honor, you were in Ring of Honor for 8 years.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moment?
Okay, so there's a bunch of moments I look back on very fondly, but there was one match and one moment where I feel like it kind of took me and a good friend of mine, Kyle O'Reilly, to the next level. Because me and Kyle, in many ways, have been married to each other within wrestling for my entire career. It's like I think the longest I've gone without being in the same company as Kyle is 3 months. And that was a few months back. So we've always been attached at the hip, whether it be as partners or opponents. And in this particular case, me and Kyle were still kind of young upstarts within ROH. The fans liked us, but we weren't like there yet. You know, that we would get like the respect applause, but it wasn't like everyone was buying our shirts and really invested in what we were doing. And we had this hybrid, we had this hybrid fighting rules match in the Hammerstein Ballroom. And this one is so memorable because we were wrestling and they were giving us the respectful claps. And then about halfway through, the audience didn't like the stipulation of the match. It was like you were only allowed like 3 closed fist strikes. It was a bunch of different rules where the fans were like, what the heck? You know, we just want to see him beat the crap out of each other. So halfway through, they started to get bored. They did. They were like, okay, when's this going to be done? And Kyle, not intentionally, but went to throw a punch and he hit me just in the perfect spot on the lip where I could have taken my lip and just done like this. It was completely the whole way through. And it hit like a vein or something because I was covered my whole chest. And then there was a point where I was on my knees and I yelled to fire up at Kyle and it squirted onto him, like onto his chest. Man. It was so barbaric, but the New York fans loved it.
And
like it loved it. It just like that they turned. And that was kind of I think that was the catalyst where me and Kyle both got taken serious as like, you know, main event players in ROH. So that match it kind of changed my whole career in a lot of ways. So a little bit of blood really helped us out.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking as your career, it continues to evolve. You're in ROH, and this led to you going to Japan as a member of the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that now infamous group?
Yeah. So again, I've been friends with Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, for a really long time. And there was kind of an in-between period for me where I was kind of doing my own thing in ROH. And as Bullet Club was expanding more and more, they were trying to figure out different ways to make it more impactful all across the world. I mean, it was already super hot in the United States and obviously very hot in Japan. But they actually came up with the idea. They were like, Cole, you'd be perfect. We're going to talk to everyone and see if we can get this worked out. New Japan was definitely into the idea. So I got the chance to work with those guys and be in that group. And man, what a ride that was. Like just seeing how it was unbelievable that like every town you would go to, even at like WWE shows or no matter what promotion you were at, it was like you'd see Bullet Club shirts everywhere. It was very, very cool to be a part of for sure. So that was another thing I think that like timing wise, to get, you know, certain eyes on me and what I was doing in my career, that absolutely helped. Just being associated with that group whatsoever. I feel like there was all these new fans who found me and discovered me just from being in that group.
Kurt, I want to pause right here and tell you about something that I'm super passionate about. Yes, this is a life insurance ad for GoliathLife.com, but to me, this is really about peace of mind. Think about insurance for a second. We all get medical and auto insurance. Those are very important things. We need those, but we never truly know if we're ever going to need those or not. Let me let you in on a little secret. You definitely need life insurance because we're all going to die. That's the simple reality of it. Now, as you let that sink in, think about what would happen if your family stopped having your income tomorrow. If you don't have a plan for that, you need to visit GoliathLife.com, and I mean right now. Don't delay. Listen, I myself have lost 2 friends in their 40s in the last year and a half, and I don't even want to think about what their families would be going through had they not had life insurance. If you don't have it, get it. Protect your family, and I suggest you go to GoliathLife.com because they've made the process of getting affordable life insurance super easy. GoliathLife.com streamlines the life insurance process by allowing you to get quotes from more than 20 carriers within minutes. And you'll pick the terms and payments to fit your budget. You pick your price, you start the online application immediately, and you even schedule the medical exam to come to you. I know, I've done it. They sent someone to my office. I skipped all the phone calls, the paperwork, the crazy invasive conversations. GoliathLife.com makes buying life insurance simple. No hidden fees, no upsells, no hassle. Hell, not even a phone call. GoliathLife.com is life insurance in your hands on your time. And you can get multiple quick quotes right now from the comfort of your own home and begin your application in a few easy clicks right now at goliathlife.com.
Working with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, what made it special for you?
I think, aside from what I think of them, professionally, I think Omega is the greatest. I think the Bucks are the greatest. But like all three of us are very, very close friends. Like we talk outside of wrestling. We talk about things besides wrestling. Like there's like a genuine friendship there. So anytime you get to do anything with people that you're very close with and people that you care about, it makes that so much more special. We all have that mentality of like, we eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling, and we love it. And we get so excited about every single match we have together, or a different promo idea, or whatever. Like we're just so into it together. So I'd say
like wrestling nerds,
right? Exactly. Like wrestling nerds. Yeah. So working with those guys is great, just because they're three of my best friends.
And then you got Being the Elite, which was massive on the internet at the time. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams, Adam, that it would lead to this major promotion forming eventually?
No, like not at all. It seriously was just, the Bucks and Kenny and me and some friends making funny, goofy videos. And then it turned into like actually putting storylines on there as well, where then that would transcend and it would affect the actual Ring of Honor show or the actual PWG show, or even stuff over in New Japan, because so many people were watching the YouTube videos. To then think that the catalyst of all of that is All Elite Wrestling it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Can you tell us about your contract issues and tampering issues with WWE while you were in Ring of Honor?
Oh, yes. So there was, I don't know. It never really turned into any sort of an issue in the sense of there was no real problems on either side. But I just remember there was a point where I had done a tryout with WWE. And at the time it was hey, it's not a no forever. It's just a not right now. We have a different vision for the developmental system, and it's going to completely change. And we think you'd be perfect for that, but just go and do your thing. So then I went and became Ring of Honor World Champion and PWG World Champion, and then joined the Bullet Club, all this stuff. So then it was like Cole now. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm signed. I can't do anything. So yeah, fortunately it was no real actual problem or what have you. But it was just funny that I was like, just a couple months ago, everything kind of changed.
Yeah.
So, which I wouldn't have traded anything. Like, I'm so glad that happened. And I'm so glad I got more time to, again, wrestle overseas, work with New Japan, do more stuff within ROH. Like I don't know how I would have performed or how I would have been had I in 2013 gotten signed by WWE versus 2017. Yeah. So.
And like you said, you went out and you just won a couple world championships in the meantime, so you just elevated yourself. And when you were able to finally join the WWE, who was your biggest supporter coming in? Do you remember?
Oh, God. I'd say initially, probably William Regal. He was someone who I talked to when I was at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and he had always kind of kept in touch and kept in contact. And again, he was someone who had this real support system for a lot of these guys who wrestled on the independents and traveled all over the world. So he was amazing. And then as time went on, I definitely feel like I had that relationship with Hunter as well. And then I got really, really close, and still am close to this day, with Shawn Michaels. He was just, getting the chance to learn under him in any capacity was so cool and so surreal. Just the most, an unbelievably friendly and giving when it comes to showcasing his talents and trying to educate the younger generation. He's the best. He was, that's without question one of the highlights of my 4.5 years there, was just getting to learn under him. I mean, he's the greatest. So
he is the greatest. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Taken from a guy who's been in the ring a few times with Sean, right, Kurt?
Exactly.
Oh yeah. We've had some go arounds.
Kurt, that's
the best. Yeah.
Kurt, he is. But speaking of great one, again, that WrestleMania 21 match with you and Sean, I must have watched 100 times. Just like what an and you guys had unbelievable ones other than that one as well. But that one was, oh my God, so good. So good.
Sean was the best. He really was. I always say it, and I'll continue to say it. Shawn Michaels is the most talented WWE superstar of all time, without a doubt. Yeah. Now Chris Jericho's getting up there too.
Yeah.
What he's been able to do this late in his career, I've said that as well. But I'm gonna, right now I'm gonna talk about just Sean.
Yeah.
But hey, can you tell us a story about how the WWE confused you and Xavier Woods?
Absolutely, I can. So I was, I think I was 19 at this point. I had been wrestling like independently for 9 months, like wrestling for these, and again, they're awesome, but like smaller independent promotions with not a ton of buzz or anything. And there was a website at the time that was like a recruit system where you would put your name in and your information, and they could potentially call you for a tryout or potentially call you for, doing extra work when they're in town, which is an interesting little system. So of course, right away, I plugged my information in there. And 3 months later, I get an email from the head of talent relations at the time. And he said, hey, we got your email. We got your information. We're very interested. We'd like you to come down for a week to FCW so you could try out. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. To the point where I talked with him on the phone for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Oh. And he's like, yeah, we've seen your stuff. Again, this is pretty much going to be a prerequisite as far as like, all you got to do is show up and do your thing and you're going to get hired. Here's who you're rooming with. Here's what you're doing. I'm sending you your flight information. I'm freaking out. I'm calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, I think it's happening. And I get the email, and the last name is different. The first name is the same, but the last name is different. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I end up Googling that name, and it is Xavier Woods. It's Austin Creed. And so we became buddies from that right away. But they ended up I ended up sending a picture of myself to the head of talent relations at the time. And I said, hey, by the way, this is me. I just want to make sure because the name's not right. And all he responded with, so sorry, huge mistake. Are you available for extra work in Philadelphia and Wilkes-Barre?
Wow.
So I got to do that. But yeah, I was crushed.
You should have said your name was Xavier Woods.
I know.
Hey, I was going to say, good on you, though, for sending the picture, because most guys wouldn't have and just let it play.
Just showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. They'd have been like, who the hell are you?
I know. Wait, what?
So listen, you make your NXT debut attacking Drew McIntyre in 2017 to become, and you start beginning the Undisputed Era. That all takes off in NXT. Was this all Triple H behind that whole, hey, let's kick this off and we're going to do it in grand style?
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah, it was all because I remember, Bobby had just gotten hired, Kyle had just gotten hired, and then I got hired. And funny enough, there was a very small stint in ROH where me, Kyle, and Bobby did some 6-man tags together. But that was just leading to me eventually turning on Kyle again. But I remember as it was happening, we were like, man, this thing has some legs to it, like some steam behind it. Maybe we could do this for a couple months. And they were pretty set on just moving forward with the angle, which I totally get. But we always remember being like, man, I wonder what could have happened if we would have teamed together. Not thinking at all that in NXT, that's what we were going to be doing. So we didn't find out that was the plan until that day at that takeover where I debuted and attacked Drew, and the three of us stood there. So we were all very excited. Because again, we know each other really, really well, both from working together and against each other. So we were excited to be because that was the other cool thing too, is just starting in WWE with that pressure cooker of emotion in your brain of like, oh my God, okay, this is finally here. This is what I wanted to do. And now I'm here in the ring and there's all this pressure and I don't want to mess up. I want to do great. Even though we've been wrestling for a long time, those thoughts still do go through your head. So to share that pressure with two of my best friends, God, it made it so much better. When stuff went well, it's awesome. And when stuff was nerve wracking or stuff didn't go well, it's like, oh, we had each other to be there.
It's got to be like a comfort level because you're all in there together. So absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. So, that was incredibly cool that Hunter had that vision for the three of us. And I'm glad we went that route for sure.
Did you ever think you were brought in just to stay in NXT?
I don't know. There definitely was a phase at one point where towards the end where I know there was this vision for what NXT was and what it was bringing to the table, where really when we first ended up on television, the vision, as far as I was concerned, was NXT is legit a third brand at this point. It's something separate from SmackDown. It's something separate from Raw. We want to make NXT its own thing on television and do as well as we can with it. So at that point, me and a lot of other people weren't even really thinking about Raw and SmackDown. It was like, okay, we just started the show on Wednesdays. We got to make it the best show that WWE has every single week. Let's go, guys. Let's tear it up. Like that type of team mentality. So at that point, it was just a focus on making NXT as good as it possibly was. But I think at the end of the day, everyone still at some point thinks, okay, are they going to move me to Raw and SmackDown, or are they going to keep me here in NXT? And that started entering my mind towards the end of my run in NXT. But in like the heat of things from like 2018 to 2020, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just so NXT all day.
You mentioned your relationship with Hunter and Sean. Are they saying anything to you or talking to you about this as the years go on? Like, hey, man, you're going to be big time on the main roster one day, or is none of that really happening with them?
No. So I still to this day keep in conversation or keep in touch with both of them. And a lot of it is just like a personal, like,
sure,
hey, how are
friendship.
you? Thinking of you, wishing you the best, that type of thing. But yeah, no, there wasn't a huge discussion from either of them about going to Raw or SmackDown, and not as in like it was an uncomfortable thing to talk about. But I guess the way I'll put it is there really was a core group of guys within NXT that was so laser focused on that one thing, making NXT special, that I think they knew, and they themselves weren't even thinking about it as well. I think also, especially with NXT trying to be this new show on Wednesdays, they probably would have been nervous or scared at the idea of like, oh my God, okay, they just took 4 of our top NXT stars. Now what are we going to do? So, but we also felt that way as well, where we just were focused on the show. So.
Yeah, makes sense. And speaking of excitement, this had got to be an exciting time for you. And it's Royal Rumble, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So your home state. It's 2018. Man, what was that like for you?
Oh my God. So the night before, I had a Extreme Rules match with Aleister Black in Philadelphia. So I took some pretty nasty bumps, but I was okay. I was all right. And I remember I got to the back after the takeover had ended, and Hunter asked to speak with me, and he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know you're going to be in the Royal Rumble tomorrow." I thought I was going home, the next day. So I'm so excited. Like the first Union Center in Philadelphia is where I went to all the shows.
Yeah.
Like I was that building and that place has so much nostalgia in it for me. Like God, that's my childhood. So to be able to do an event like the Royal Rumble, one of the best, WWE shows of the entire year, and to be able to do it in Philly. My mother this was so cool because this was last minute. The show was sold out, but they knew that I was going to want my mom to be there. And my younger brother, two people I'm very, very close with, and they somehow got a hold of them and got them, comp tickets so they could be there to see it, which was so cool because again, it was so last minute. But yeah, I'll never forget walking out and just getting to feel that experience of like the surprise, like surprises in wrestling are always so fun. But to get to do that, I got to work with Rey Mysterio for the first time, which was so awesome. He's the best. But yeah, that was definitely a personal highlight for me, not just in my WWE run, but in my pro wrestling career, period. In my life, that was a massive highlight.
Was there something in NXT that you were told might happen, could happen, or an idea that you pitched that didn't happen that you would have liked to have done?
Ooh, that is such a good question.
It's a hard question too.
Yeah. Well, this kind of goes in hand with what we're talking about here, because like I'm going to set it up kind of. So originally, the Undisputed Era was just supposed to be me, Bobby, and Kyle O'Reilly. That was it. Supposed to be the three of us, and they were like, "Nope, it's not going to be like a group that expands." And we had more and more and more. And I remember they came to us with the idea of adding Roderick Strong, and the three of us were kind of off to ourselves, and we were sitting there, and we're like, "I know we said we don't want anyone else in the group, but Roderick Strong would be perfect, like because we're all buddies with him." And then it really felt like that's when the group truly started, with the four of us. But going off of like different ideas that ended up not happening, I know it was discussed at one point. I can't even specifically think of the name, but adding one or two more people to the group at one point, that was discussed. And I know that the four of us were kind of like, we felt like Roderick was like the exception to the rule. And of course, all four of us are good in the sense of if they were like, "No, we really want to do this," we're going to go, "Okay, yes, sir. Yeah, whatever you want." But when they were asking us our opinion, it was, "No, I feel like just this 4-man group is the way to go." So yeah, there was discussion about maybe adding different members to the Undisputed Era at one point that all of us weren't crazy about, and it ended up not happening. So yeah. It's kind of a long-winded way of
that's good.
That answer.
I love to hear it because I had never heard that before.
Adam. Yeah, it's a great question. Great question. Yeah.
So here, let's talk about another big-time accomplishment for you, Adam, and you are the longest-reigning NXT champion in the history of the brand, and that's a pretty big accomplishment. And what does that mean for you to be able to say that?
Yeah, that again, winning championships that other top talent has held is always like such a great feeling of accomplishment in a lot of ways. But again, to be the NXT champion, the longest reigning champion at the point where arguably NXT was at its hottest, is a huge compliment. Not only from the fans, but honestly from our team, like for Triple H and Shawn and our roster as well, to go, no, he should be the guy right now, is the best feeling, because having the respect, from your peers means even more than anything else in a lot of ways. So it was a really, really cool time. It was a big challenge because, again, our roster was so stacked at the time. We had some of the best in the entire world, I think. So to get the chance to be the champion for that long, and for NXT itself to trust me in that role, again, you can't get a higher compliment than that. You really, really can't.
Well, when NXT invaded the WWE main roster, you had great matches with Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins. Did you wonder why you weren't called up at this point? I didn't really think too much about why I wasn't being moved to Raw or SmackDown at that point. Especially another reason too is when we did that invasion of SmackDown, and I got to work with Daniel Bryan, and then going a few days later to Raw and working with Seth Rollins. In my mind, especially because the end of that NXT won the Survivor Series showdown with Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah, NXT, real third brand, it's happening, and everyone is acknowledging it now. So we're going to put our nose to the ground and just go for it. So at that point, I still, even as I held the NXT championship for a little while after that too. So I wasn't even really thinking about it until the idea of me dropping the championship. Then I thought, okay, maybe now a move might happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But yeah, at that time, after those two matches, yeah, I still was of that mentality of like, let's go. NXT is a real third brand. Let's do it.
Something tells me we'll get to see some more great matches with you and Bryan Danielson at some point too down the road.
I hope so. I hope so.
We all do. Now listen, let's talk about working with Pat McAfee, obviously. Yes. Big personality. That was a different kind of program than NXT had ever done before. What did you think of putting that all together, and what was it like working with Pat?
So it's really, really fun getting the chance to do anything that's somewhat outside the box. As much as I can't stand the guy, Pat he's a very, very talented person. very charismatic, has the gift of gab for days. And he does. He really respects pro wrestling a lot. He really does. He, as far as being a student of the game and watching it and respecting it, he's the best when it comes to that. But getting the chance to do any sort of program with someone who's a non-wrestler was very, very fun. And again, it was such a compliment for them to trust me with that role of getting to be in there with Pat. So he's, again, as far as someone being such a natural when it comes to this job. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's a real jerk, but he's a natural.
Not everybody from Pennsylvania can be cool like us.
Yeah, except that guy. He's the only one. He's the only one.
Hey, Adam, when did you know you were leaving the WWE?
Oh, honest to God, it was not until literally, I'd say 3 or 4 days before I debuted with AEW. Like I genuinely was going back and forth in my mind, weighing the pros and cons and thinking about what I wanted to do, what my vision was for the next few years. I was talking to both parties, and I really finally made the decision. Like I said, 3 or 4 days before I actually debuted it all out, which is kind of wild. But weighing those pros and cons again, like my entire experience with NXT and WWE was nothing but a positive one. Everyone treated me with respect. I had a really, really fun run there. And AEW, again, getting to know Tony Khan and meeting him, he's a wonderful guy. Getting the chance to work alongside Britt again was really exciting. And then one of the biggest things, seriously, is I've become more involved in doing content outside of just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is my number one passion and my number one love. But I like the idea of getting my feet wet in a bunch of different areas instead of it just being within wrestling. And at AEW, that was very encouraged as well. So that's a big reason that my decision was what it was, and I'm very happy with it. Like I could not be more happy at AEW.
That's great. We'll put a bow on the NXT here with this question.
Sure.
So you got to wrestle Kyle O'Reilly, who you talked about. Everything's kind of been full circle with him, and it's your last match with him in NXT. And how special was that? It had to feel, like I said, like a kind of that full circle moment with Kyle there.
Yeah. So I'm an emotional guy, and I don't think I've ever said this, but I cried like a baby after that match. Yeah, I was just thinking about, again, the whole. I'm sitting there, I'm watching this video package before the match, and it's pictures of me and Kyle from 2009. And all this Ring of Honor stuff and us wrestling each other in New Japan. And I know that this is my last night at NXT, or most likely I'm thinking it's my last night at NXT. At least that's how we treated it as well. And I see Sean standing over there. I was crying before I went out there. I remember I'm like, oh, I gotta be ticked off Adam Cole now. Here we go. So went out, and getting to do that with him, it was like, there's no one I would have rather wrestled or been in there with than Kyle. Just because I got to close my Ring of Honor chapter with him in a lot of ways. I got to close my PWG chapter and then my NXT chapter with Kyle. So it was a very special night and a very emotional night for me. So.
Well, your debut for AEW came it all out right before Bryan Danielson made his debut. How surreal are those few minutes for you?
Oh my goodness! So if it's okay, and like I said, I'll try not to ramble. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, ramble. Love it.
But that whole process was so wild. So I flew in the night before to, I think it was maybe Milwaukee. We were like 2 hours away from the building, and I stayed in a hotel that was completely out of the town. And then I got driven to the show as the show was going on. Then I was put in a trailer away from everybody, and I'm watching the show on this monitor, and I haven't said hello to anyone yet. I'm like, this is crazy. This is nuts. So, finally, when we get pulled and I'm walking up and everyone kind of sees that I'm there, they're like, because I know a lot of them, they're like, oh, my God. Oh, hey. And I'm standing there waiting at the bottom of the steps, getting ready to go out. And, of course, the thing through my mind is like, I hope they're excited. I hope they're like, oh, cool. This, because that's always the thing that goes through your mind. At least for me, it did. I'm like, oh man, please. So fortunately, that crowd in Chicago was awesome. They were incredible. But I remember walking up the stairs and my legs were physically shaking because I had so much adrenaline. So, but fortunately walking made it, normal again. But I was so excited. So excited. It was one of my favorite nights of my career for sure. That was a special night.
Buddy, you talk about your legs shaking. Okay, so I was fortunate enough to be in the building for this.
Oh, awesome.
And I was there with my son, Gavin, and my best friend in the world, Mark Sutton, who's the biggest, I'm naming him, name dropping, who's the biggest Adam Cole fan. And when you came out and your music hit, I looked at him. I've never seen him and my son react so loud. The place was a rock concert. It was insane.
Wild. Yeah.
And man, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. One of the top, wrestling moments I was a part of ever live when your music hit. But you had to feel like it confirmed with you, man, I made the right decision.
For sure. There was like this, there was always this relationship I felt with the AEW fans and AEW in general, where even though I was at WWE or in NXT, they always treated me kind of like I was one of them. Because AEW, again, was started on stuff like BTE and with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And they know that I'm still really close with those guys. There's a lot of similarities to a lot of us as well. So I never felt like the reaction too almost felt like a yes, welcome home type of thing. Like they were really, really pumped that I made that decision. And it was, again, that was one of many reasons where I was like, AEW is the place for me for sure.
Homecoming, that's the best way to put it, man. That's what it felt like. So cool.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Hey, Adam, what is left for you to accomplish?
Ooh, so again, I think my goals at the end of the day, they're ever changing. And as time goes on, God, seriously, my biggest thing is I just want to make sure I stay healthy. I want to get the chance to work with a lot of people I haven't had the chance to work with yet, and go into some really cool, fun, long-term programs. And I just want to be proud of the stuff that I put out on television or for the live crowd, to where people can really sit back and go, man, I really enjoyed that. That was really fun. Of course, at the end of the day, you always want, like, it'd be great to be the AEW world champion. It'd be awesome to have a run with the championship. But yeah, right now, again, my biggest goals are just staying healthy, staying consistent, and giving the audience, whether it be in the arena or at home on TV, just something they could be proud to watch.
Well, Adam, let's name a name. Besides Kurt Angle, who's the one guy you want to wrestle that you still haven't?
Oh, okay. So can this be anybody? Like even if they're not active, or just someone?
It can be anybody.
Okay. Yes. Aside from the awesome experience it would be to get to step in there with Kurt, Shawn Michaels again would be my number one pick. To be able to have the chance to get to wrestle him would be so cool and so surreal. Because again, I've studied him so much. I've watched him so much, and I know him personally, and he's a wonderful, wonderful person. So yeah, to be in there with Shawn would be great.
Okay. So I'm not letting you off the hook. Shawn Michaels. Yep. Now you got to give me a current wrestler.
Okay. A current wrestler. Okay. I know he's out injured right now, but CM Punk would be the guy that I'd want to step in there with. Because again, CM Punk was the guy who got me into Ring of Honor as a fan. I remember seeing his matches and thinking they were really good, and then watching his promos and being like, "Whoa, this is his level." His promo ability made me, from a young age, go, I have to make sure that I get good at talking, because he was so great at it. And I thought it was never going to happen. I'm like, okay, yep, he's done. He retired. So I'm never going to get the chance to wrestle him. And now it's a very real possibility. So getting to go in there with CM Punk and AEW would be really cool.
Well, that's great, Adam. Hey, thank you for coming on the Kurt Angle Show. We really appreciate it. Is there anything you would like to plug before we're done?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a Twitter, which is at Adam Cole Pro. Instagram, same thing, Adam Cole Pro. Also, I am a big Twitch streamer where online I'll play some cool, different, whether it be retro games or newer games. It's an awesome community of people. Again, the internet can be nasty place sometimes, but on Twitch, it's like a beautiful community of people. And that's twitch.tv/the Chugs if you would like to watch me play some video games. But other than that, I just wanted to say, you guys, this was such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you so much for having me on. This was so cool.
Thank you so much, Adam. And we really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks.
Adam, fantastic. Great meeting you today, man. Thank you so much.
Great to meet you.
Take care,
you,
my
guys.
friend.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Kurt, wow, a lot of energy. Could you tell I was excited about that one?
Yeah, good storyteller too.
So good conversationalist, man. Very good. And he's got big things in the future. He's already accomplished big things, but man, I'm looking forward to watching his career at AEW. Buddy, next week we're going to be talking all about Victory Road 2007. It's when you team with Samoa Joe to take on Team 3D with all the TNA titles on the line. That's going to be fun. But before we get out of here this week, first of all, this drops on Independence Day weekend, so we want to wish everyone happy Independence Day here in the U.S. because he is the American hero, Kurt Angle.
Happy July 4th. Yes.
There you go. And Kurt, I also want you to talk a little bit about physicallyfit.com. You were telling me that the contest continues.
Yes, we have a contest. You put together a video of why you absolutely love chicken snacks or Snack Smart Crispy Protein Bites. This product is incredible. Go to physicallyfit.com. You can order 11 different flavors, very high protein, low carbohydrate, low fat. Very healthy for you. These are incredible. You'll love the taste.
That's right. So check out physicallyfit.com. As Kurt said, the contest continues. They decided to extend it for that belt. So submit your videos and you could win a $3,500 valued championship belt made by Wildcat Belts. So definitely you want to check that out and hook up our man, Kurt Angle, and go ahead and get you some chicken snacks. I'm telling you, a variety of flavors from cinnamon, and you have buffalo wing and jalapeno, all kinds of flavors. So check it out. You can also support him by going to KurtAngleBrand.com. That's where you're going to get what, Kurt? T-shirts, cameo videos. What else?
Cowboy hats, milk cartons, autographed photos, birthday cards, T-shirts, cameo video messages. Go to KurtAngleBrand.com, order whatever you want, and I'll be sending it to you.
There you go. Also, check out our buddy over at wildcatbelts.com. We're down to 2 belts left. I think if I would have told Adam Cole about those belts, he might have snatched one up. So that was a missed opportunity. He's such a massive Kurt Angle fan. Dude, did you ever hear that story before about how you were such a big impact on him?
No, I did not. He did say something very short in an interview at one time saying I was one of his biggest influences, but I didn't know the story behind it.
Yeah, he had been on Renee's podcast, I think, and shared a little bit about that. But, man, he really looks up to you. So very cool. So check out the belt, wildcatbelts.com. Andrew does unbelievable work. Big fan of his. And then finally, before we get out of here this week and let you enjoy the fireworks, the hot dogs, and the hamburgers, it's time to tell you about Saturday, August 27th. It's wrestling night at the park for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers with Kurt Angle. Listen, you Google for their website, Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Then you want to check schedules and promos. You scroll down to August 27th, and you're going to see our Olympic gold hero pictured right there. It's going to tell you all about that event. Kurt and I are flying out together that weekend. He's going to do a meet and greet. He's going to take pictures with you. He's going to throw out the first pitch. And we're going to have a live podcast there where you can have your questions answered live with your Olympic gold medal hero. So please check us out. We're looking forward to that event. Kurt, I think that's going to do it for this week, man. What a great guest.
A great guest. I really love Adam. He's an awesome dude. Really loved interviewing him. Yeah.
He really was, man. I could have talked to him all day, and we hope you enjoyed it as well. On behalf of the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, this is Paul Bromwell. We'll see you right here again next week on The Kurt Angle Show.